It's more
That's right. That's right.
It gets
Well,
congested.
I
too,
just
but I like that. That's pretty.
said, nope, didn't see
So
one.
anything heard from BJ?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's
Crazy.
just.
Michael, you heard from BJ?
He's not going to be attending
Oh, he's not.
tonight.
Okay.
Right? McAvoy.
Not a big deal. Okay, sounds good.
We got 4.
All right, I guess we should do this, yeah?
Man, that means you can just get this whole end, just work from that end.
That's right. Just gonna wait it. You guys ready? All right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'd like to call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Kill Devil Hills Board of Commissioners. Nice to see some friendly faces in the audience. If you would, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a smile. Speaking of smiling, for those of you who are not at all of our meetings, we start off every meeting with a short moment of silence. So please join me. Thank you so much. Pardon my froggy throat. You know, it's either the pollen or something. So I'm not trying to breathe on anybody just in case. First item up is we have an agenda. Have you any thoughts about the agenda?
Mayor, I'd motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We have an agenda. First item up is public hearings. We've got two of them. Mr. Town Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. There are 2 hearings tonight. The following rules of procedure will apply to these hearings. Public notice of the hearing were published in the newspaper and posted on town bulletin boards and website that meets or exceeds statutory requirements for the subject matter. A copy of the public notice has also been filed with the town clerk for entry into the official record of the hearing. The town clerk is going to be recording all comments in a concise and brief manner. Submitted written statements will be recorded in a similar manner and made a part of the record of the hearing, and also must be submitted in full to the town clerk. If speaking tonight, please come to the microphone so that your statement can be recorded. Also identify yourself by giving your name and complete address. No debates, of course, during a public hearing. If speaking on behalf of yourself as an individual, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. A 5-minute exception will be made if a spokesperson presents itself for a group or if a statement was submitted in writing to the town clerk. We have the first public hearing then, now coming to order, and this hearing is called for the purpose of the Kill Devil Hills Board of Commissioners to consider the following: a proposed zoning amendment to Chapter 153.211B, Light Industrial 2 Zone, and Chapter 153.231B, Light Industrial 1 Zone, to modify mixed-use development setback requirements. I do believe we have somebody signed up for this first one, Mr. Matt Walker.
Hi, Matt Walker, 439 West Walker Street. We've done this before. I'm actually commenting on both these. This is kind of an overarching comment, but it's something you haven't heard me say before. It's just as we're looking at these things, and I did look at them, but I'm usually clueless about really understanding them, is whenever we're adding density, let's make sure it helps dent the problem. We're not just adding density. We police, if it comes to ADUs, are we policing this stuff so we know they're not going to be Airbnbs? If we're making these, multi-family, whatever these density, whatever these buildings are, they get larger, that it's actually going to just create more, the workforce housing we need and the people we want to stay in and keep here going, and not just turn into more traffic and all the other things that we're dealing with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's no one else signed up for the first, which again is the amendment we just went over. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on item A tonight? All right,
All right,
turn it
so
over to the board for discussion.
a little backstory, I guess, for catching anybody else up who hasn't been following this over the months. We've been discussing this for a good bit of time. The idea here, and help me guys, make sure I don't get this wrong. The idea here is to make things more consistent and allow maybe I should let you recap it for me.
Okay, this would change the setbacks for mixed-use development. Currently, mixed-use development has to meet a residential setback where commercial setbacks are 10 feet. So existing commercial structures can't be converted to mixed use under our current ordinance. We've had some inquiries about being able to put apartments over businesses and things of that nature. We changed it in the commercial zone 6-8 months ago to allow for existing commercial businesses to have residential above and be consistent with the setbacks. This is just extending that into the light industrial zones so that conversion for mixed use would be possible in existing structures.
Right, and basically it's about the backyard setback.
Correct.
In the light industrial zone, if you had a warehouse, you can back it up pretty far to the back of the lot. But if you were going to do residential, formerly
30
it had to have a big backyard, which is kind of unnecessary in that zone. But that would offer those property owners the opportunity to build housing that would help put employees on site. Or
Mixed use, there would
mixed
be
use.
commercial plus residential, and it would have the 10-foot setback versus the residential setback of 30
And if you
on the
if-
backyard.
Right, and if you built just residential in that zone, you still
30.
have to have the 30-foot
Correct.
backyard. So it's only for mixed use.
Correct.
Just wanted to, we had some
Yeah.
folks.
It's intended to allow for conversion of existing structures, and right now there can be no conversion if they were built to our current setbacks.
Right, because they've already broken that boundary.
Correct.
Right, so this just opens up
Possibilities.
year-round housing only, right? And it's allowing us to do something we couldn't do, but it actually isn't really adding any density that wouldn't be allowed if it was a commercial building. So seems like a win-win, one of those places where you just look deep into the code, figure out where can we incentivize year-round housing to be built. And it's something that people had asked about, so hopefully it's not that controversial and it's kind of a win-win.
Well, I don't want to
Did I
lead you
say
the
that
wrong
wrong?
way. This particular amendment is not restrictive to long-term
Right.
housing.
Oh, my apologies.
Right.
Okay,
I'm
I just
speaking
wanted
of
to
the
let
other
you
one,
know.
sorry. Yeah.
And also, if the commercial development abuts an RL zone,
Yeah.
it does not get
That's
to take
what I was gonna-
advantage of that change.
Right.
It has to be 30 feet to protect the residential structures.
So what you're saying is if this LI1 or LI2 zone is butted right up to a residential house or but you have to have a backyard on the
Correct.
LI1, LI2 side.
Yes, sir.
Right. So you end up,
It's pretty
Protecting it.
limited. It's very protective, but does allow for some apartments above the
Mhm.
commercial. Yeah.
right? Any further discussion about it? Otherwise,
I'm good.
feelings about it?
Yeah.
I support, both ordinances we're talking about today.
All right. If you'd like to make a motion, we'd love to hear it.
Oh, sure. We're doing these individually,
Yes,
these
sir.
motions.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, I'll make a motion on the first ordinance update. I will make a motion for approval. Ordinance 153211B, Light Industrial 2, and 153231B, Light Industrial Zone 1, modified mixed-use development setbacks is consistent with all comprehensive plans and other official adopted plans of the town of Caddo Hills that are applicable. This amendment is reasonable and in the public interest because it encourages mixed-use development and provides additional housing options.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Varnell.
The second public hearing will please come to order now. Of course, the same rules of procedure will apply, and this public hearing is called for the purpose of the Board of Commissioners to consider the following. Proposed zoning amendment at Chapter 153.315B, accessory dwelling units, Chapter 153.116C, low-density residential zone permitted uses, Chapter 153.156E, high-density residential zone permitted uses to add accessory dwelling units for long-term occupancy.
She submitted a letter. Is that what happened?
We do have one person signed up, Miss Donna Creep, who I believe also had submitted a statement in writing, and I think that's in your packets.
Yes.
And I'm not going to take the 5 minutes, so don't worry about that. Good evening. My name is Donna Creef, and I am the Government Affairs Director for the Outer Banks Association of Realtors. And I did submit written comments to the board yesterday because I was afraid that I wouldn't make it here. I was at another meeting in Southern Shores, but luckily I was able to get here. And I am providing comments tonight on behalf of the Association of Realtors. The Realtors have public policy statements they adopt just like the town does in their comprehensive land use plan. And one of those policies is specific to housing, and it encourages the development of accessory dwelling units. The town's proposal to amend their zoning ordinance, the low density residential and the high density residential, to allow for long-term occupancy of ADUs is supported by OBAR. And we commend the town for their continued efforts to amend their zoning ordinance to increase housing opportunities. Every unit that's built is one unit that adds to the success of trying to address the housing crisis. And thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Walker, for the record, we're going to incorporate your previous comments into, okay. Anyone else want to speak on item B? Turn it
Right.
over to you guys.
So yeah, I think my brain's a little foggy. I was thinking of this one when I was speaking a little bit earlier. We had talked about these ideas for a long time, and particularly last fall. And this one does have that provision that we were talking about, where the only ADUs that would be permitted is if they were accompanied by a deed restriction that would be enforceable for long-term housing only. So that is, hopefully we've talked about it a bunch in the past, but generally the high level is that this would offer locals who have a house the opportunity to have an accessory dwelling unit for year-round housing that would help offset their mortgage. And it will also help address our, labor shortage and housing shortage that we're all trying to work on. We have already allowed this in other zones. So we started off with that maybe a year, I guess it was 2021. So we wanted to see how that went. And so far that has gone on without a bump at all. So I think there's a lot of support for going this route, and we've carefully considered it for a long time. So I'm excited to get to the day to finally make it happen.
I'd like to clarify, only lots large enough to sustain the, not just the dwellings themselves, but also all of the, I guess, the health code, the septic systems, what have you, will qualify. So it's not something that every single lot in Canoga Hills could have. It's just the specific ones that are big enough to have that capacity. So it isn't going to, well, it does offer options for some. It's not really going to take over the entire town, so to speak. I'll just say real quick, I'm in support of both of these amendments. I feel like they strike a good balance of addressing giving more tools to address our housing crisis, but also kind of not going too far. And it doesn't tip the scales where it could create long-term harm in the future. We kind of really maintain our character, but also give our homeowners, some more things to work with. So I'm in support.
Well put, well put.
And I support it as well.
All right. I like it when we're all going in the same direction. I think
Very good
things will
work.
come out of it.
Very good work.
Yeah, thanks to staff for working on this for many years, really getting us to this point. So it's something, like I said, something we've considered, and it's exciting to get to this point. So who'd like to do the honors?
Well, I was looking this way. So I'd like to make a motion for approval. Ordinance 153221B Light Industrial 2 Zone and 153231B Light Industrial 1 Zone. Oh, I'm in the wrong. So I'll just start over. Ordinance 153315B Accessory Dwelling Units 153116C Low Density Residential Zone Permitted Uses 153156E high-density residential zone permitted uses, add accessory dwelling units for long-term occupancy is consistent with all comprehensive plans and other official adopted plans of the town of Kidwell Hills that are applicable. The amendment is reasonable and in the public interest because it provides additional development options to alleviate long-term housing needs.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
We've got a second from Ms. Ingram. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Exciting. All right, well, that wraps up our public hearings for the evening. This gets us into the beginning of our kind of our usual agenda, which starts with the public comment period. For those not familiar, we do a public comment period. This is just on general topics at the beginning of each meeting and at the end. So you have two opportunities because we always like feedback from the public on everything we're thinking about. So we got one opportunity now, one later. Same rules apply. 3 minutes for, I try to keep it 3 minutes or 5 minutes for group. Anybody? I'm just running my mouth to give you time to think. Anybody like to speak at public comment? Yeah, we also have like, let's just say a public forum later where we talk widely. But yes. So yeah, there's multiple times to weigh in tonight. But yeah, the public forum is kind of a more loose, less formal discussion that we talk about big picture stuff. So we will be doing that sort of at the end of the meeting, but before the final public comment. All right, one more time for public comment. We'll bring you in later. Sounds good. All right, we'll close public comment. Let's see, ongoing business, anything?
No, sir.
And then new business. We've got a couple of appointments in the packet to look at. First one is Board of Adjustments. There are two folks who appointments expire in May, and both have expressed a desire for reappointment. So these are 2 3-year appointments to the board for Kevin Cox and Michael Loack. Thoughts? These guys have served us
Yeah.
well for.
Yeah, I'm happy to
Yeah.
reappoint
They've done well.
Kevin and Mike, and I'll make a motion. We reappoint Kevin Cox and Michael Loack to the Board of Adjustments.
Super. Motion on the floor.
I'll second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. And motion carries unanimously. Thanks. Right. The other board slot we were looking at is the Dangerous Animal Appeal Board. Sue Kelly has been a member at her term expires in June of 23. She's also expressed the desire to be considered for reappointment to another 3-year term. Sue does so many things for us. It's one of many. She's fantastic. Oh, she's right here. I'm talking about it right.
I'll make a motion to appoint Sue to a 3-year term to the Dangerous Animal Appeal Board for a term that will expire June 2026.
I'll second that.
A double second is
We love
appropriate
you,
for Sue
Sue.
Kelly. Yep. All right. Any further discussion?
I'm just curious, how often does that board have to meet? Is it just on a case-by-case basis?
As needed, sir.
As needed?
As needed.
Okay. Rare. Twice. 2008.
Which is
Nice
good.
nice
Well, that's
credit
good.
by your name. Don't have to
Yeah.
work too hard. Hopefully, not too dicey there.
Not pleasant.
One more chance for further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Congratulations, Sue Kelly. Thank you for all you do. Next item up is committee reports.
Sue, it's your day. I'm going to turn, invite Sue to come up,
That
speak
introduction.
to us about the Community Appearance Commission.
Awesome.
Thank you for your kind words. I'm Sue Kelly, 211 Sea Village Lane, on behalf of the Community Appearance Commission. The next meeting is the end of this month. We are now meeting on an every other month schedule, or as needed if we need to call other meetings. So our next meeting will be the 25th of this month. That's Thursday, 8:30 in the morning here. We are getting into the process. Every 2 years, we do our Community Appearance Award. So this coming meeting will be our first step in that process. which is, I think, a very careful process where we review, nominate, judge, compare to a good set of criteria for an award for the business that looks the nicest and has itself outside together. And also we give an award to a business that's in the strip mall. And then we have the most improved, which is often something that's brand new or recently renovated. So we're starting with that. And like I said last time, any suggestions you have would be welcome to the members of the committee, because it's a process. We give different values to different things, so we can try to get a full picture of what these buildings look like and how well they're handling things. I just heard that Nags Head is doing some work with trees, with the same goal that we have of keeping as many trees as we can. So I just wanted to mention that I'm going to look into that some more and see if there's anything that they're doing. Our live oak giveaway is very positive. We're kind of in the middle of it now. And we do give away live oak trees, the town tree, and they seem to be very well received. Last time we gave away, I think, 26 trees. It probably would be derelict of duty if I did not thank you for your giving us a grant of money in the budget each time. Thank you for having done that in the past, and our most sincere hope that you will continue to do that. And we will seek your advice on the best ways to use whatever it is that you choose to give us, but it's really helpful. Oh, and about the trees, let me also say that the town has these beautiful blue ribbons. You know, our town color is this really pretty blue. It's not quite like anybody else's blue, but it's really pretty. And we have these lovely ribbons that we offer free to our citizens that they can tie around their trees, particularly their live oak trees, to call attention to the importance of those trees in our community. I think the last thing I want to mention, like we said last time, Trash Attack was a big success. It was great. I don't know how much trash it ended up being, but I'm sure it was a goodly amount. Had a nice group of people. And I don't know if you've noticed, but keep your eyes open for two, they appear to be brand new trash trucks. And two of them have the big panels of the winner of the art contest that goes along with Trash Attack. So we offer to all the students in Kill Devil Hills the opportunity to draw something related to our issues about keeping the beach clean and trash. And then we judge them. And the ones that win, a couple of them anyway, get put on the trash trucks. And they're really cool. So I urge you to keep your eyes open for that. I think it's on the side of the truck that's normally outside, not the side that actually picks up the can. But they're really cool. So I hope you'll get to see them. And if no one has any questions, I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you
That's
do. And we had those youngsters here at a previous meeting. It's really great to see how talented they are at such a young age. And I believe one of the winners was a digital art, first digital submission, and we have a special digital category next year, if I understood that correctly.
Yes.
So really great. Those kids were fantastic.
They were. And one of them said she didn't even know she had a mayor.
I didn't know I had a mayor. Now she knows. There's a mayor. So cute. So cute. Anyway, thanks again for all you do. I'll make an announcement here in a little bit about Live Oaks as well. Let's see. Other commissioners' reports.
Committee.
The committee reports, sorry. I had myself.
I had a board of tourism. Are you done?
Done.
Do you want to do the C? You know.
CAC is well covered. I'm
Okay.
good. I'm going to do CRAC under commissioners. Again.
Okay. All right. Okay. Had a board of tourism meeting last week, and we went over the proposed budget season, as well as we got a the long range tourism plan was presented. Unfortunately, I had another meeting, so I had to miss that portion. But it was recorded, so I'm going to go back and watch that. But that's the update from the Board of Tourism.
Yeah, I think there's a video online
Yeah,
for it.
yeah,
Yeah, anybody
there
can
is.
watch that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to checking it out
Yeah.
too. I haven't seen it
Yeah.
yet. I think I saw an email about it yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super. Yeah,
Yeah,
can't
they
wait to
just
see
got
what
it
they
up
had to
today.
say.
Yeah.
There's some predictions about the season in there and other
Right.
things.
Nothing here.
Nothing there. All righty. So that gets us into commissioner's agenda. So we'll circle back.
Yes, yesterday afternoon, I attended a Coastal Resources Advisory Council meeting. We had it, this session was in Manio. The Coastal Resources Commission met today. Very productive educational meetings. Between the two meetings, we were able to update some language around how CAMA will start permitting new or replacement septic systems that are located east of the dune. A lot there. I'll just leave it at that. But it's moving on now to the public comment phase. So it is a long way to go, but it was kind of neat to be a part of that process and kind of learn from it. So thank you all for the appointment. I'm enjoying my work there.
Super. I assume you'll share us that link for public comment when it comes
Oh,
around. Is
yes,
that
we'll make sure it
makes
gets
the
out.
rounds? Sounds
Yes, sir.
good. Looking forward to checking that out. Anything else?
I just wanted to say, just so everyone knows, I joined the Outer Banks Forever group
Board,
as a
right?
board member. And so I did that for me personally, but it turns out after we had our annual meeting last week, there was a lot of town things that they're interested in working on. So I just wanted to let you all know I didn't intend to join for the town, but it turns out I might be actually representing the town more than I originally thought. So I'll be communicating with you guys. I know they have a lot of really big ideas. So hoping we
But they're
can
raising
see
a lot
some
of
of
money
that
too, yeah.
stuff. Yeah, hoping we can see some of that stuff come to fruition over at Wright Brothers. So
Yeah,
that's all.
our goals are aligned there for sure.
Yeah,
Looking
yeah,
forward
I
to seeing
think
what we can
so.
do
There's a
together.
lot of pedestrian paths and really cool stuff that they're hoping to do. So I think we could have a really good partnership on some things.
Super. Well, thanks for doing that. That's fantastic. Commissioner's agenda.
The only thing I wanted to say, thanks to staff for the bulk pickup that they've been doing so far. They've done a great job. They've really been on top of it and hadn't set out a long time at all. So, that's the only thing I had, Mayor.
Super. Yeah, that's our next item is the mayor's agenda. So I'll just jump right in. It was one of my comments was that we're wrapping that up now. I guess it has now been completed. You guys know I work down in Hatteras, so it's always a bit of an eyesore there when it's all down Route 12. They were quicker down there too this year. I guess it's an outside contractor does that one. But I had the same thing, positive feedback from constituents about the pickup. I know there was a lot of stuff on my street and wasn't there for a couple of days and zoom. So big round of applause for staff for knocking it out. Thank you so much for that. The place looks good, spick and span. Other items on my agenda include, I was going to mention to Sue that May is right around the corner, which means we'll be soon have Love Your Live Oak Month in Killable Hills, right? So we can't bring this up enough. Been a very popular program. So as Sue mentioned, you'll see those blue bows around. So talk it up and let people know that, we take a good idea and we go big with it. So we'll keep on supporting that program. Finally, I had a little announcement that's just come out this week. I hope everybody can join the groundbreaking ceremony for our new joint KDH Fire and Dare EMS station on Wednesday, May 10th. It's at 2 p.m. This facility, of course, a great partnership between KDH and the county really helped us in a great way because they have the ability to borrow, very efficient because we're able to put it all in one site. So it's a big win all the way around for the citizens of Killable Hills for decades and decades to come, and a great price at it as well. So there'll be more information coming out on the website and all our social media stuff. So keep an eye out for that. Again, the date on that is May 10th at 2 p.m. over at the old Mako Mike site. So let's see. I think that's all I've got.
Proclamation.
One more, Mayor.
Oh.
Proclamation.
Proclamation. That's right. I usually do them in the other order. I have too many things in front of me. There you go. Thanks. All right. So Yes, right. Okay. Hurricane Preparedness Week coming up April 30th through May 6th. Of course, everybody knows it's part of life on the Outer Banks to be prepared for these things. And so this is our kind of public awareness campaign to make sure everyone's thinking about being ready for that. The go bag, the water in the tub, all the things. And so Emergency Management Director, Chief Tilley back here, and Public Information Officer Rachel Tackett remind us that we want to be prepared for storm events, or even visitors need to be prepared and watch out for storms because they too often affect and threaten our families. So I recommend the approval of this proclamation and the motion be ordered to adopt. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you for your support on that. I appreciate it. Thanks for the reminder too. Got out of order there. That wraps up the mayor's agenda, town manager's agenda.
No, sir, not this evening. Thank
All
you.
right, town attorney's agenda.
Mayor, I have nothing. Thank you.
Always like when the attorney has no agenda.
Absolutely.
Consent agenda, I know there's a couple.
Yes, sir. A few things on that. First item is the minutes from April 5th, 2023. Number 2 is a resolution to establish the maturity threshold for recognition of subscription-based information technology arrangements, SBITAS. And this is all under Gatsby Statement 96, some new exciting accounting requirements. The resolution addresses software subscriptions and establish a $3,000 threshold for the subscription-based IT arrangements. Approval of consent agenda would authorize the attached execution of the above resolution. Number 3 is partnership reports. This is the report from the Carolina Care Clinic of Dare. The executive director, Lynn Jenkins, has provided this for the board. Staff recommends approval of the consent agenda as presented, and a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Consent agenda is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the work on that.
Mayor, we did not put an additional public comment on the agenda. Felt that you'd probably be ready to move straight into the public forum at this point.
It usually would be before or after. I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, the public forum could serve as your public
Serve as the
comment.
public
Yeah.
comment.
Be the same thing.
Semantics.
Yes,
All right. Plenty of time to talk.
One
Well,
way
now's
to
that
keep-
time
One way to keep it all on one page.
Correct.
on one page, right? Otherwise,
Correct.
we'll come on to the second page. Can't have that. Let's keep this thing light.
Correct. Now's that time.
Now's that
Yes.
time. So as I mentioned before, we try to involve the public early and often, a couple times a year, and kind of have an open-ended discussion about big picture, little picture, details. What have we missed? What are we doing well? What are we not doing? What do we got to keep our eye on? Obviously, a lot of things moving right now. Playing catch up after COVID. A bunch of projects in the works. Bunch of cool grant money getting the sidewalk done in front of the Wright brothers. Just that getting started. Obviously, the bypass has been. It's not us, it's DOT, but it's been a challenge. But it's about to look really nice here in a few weeks. But we're here really to talk about KDH and our kind of goal as a board and as a town to make life better and more enjoyable and quality of life be as great as it can be for all of our friends and residents and citizens and even our visitors and business owners who may live elsewhere. We consider them stakeholders as well. So that's why we've invited you here, and we want to kind of have an open discussion about it. Did anybody have anything they wanted to add before we kind of get into it? All right. This is also, as you're thinking about what you want to say, budget season as we go into it, a lot of it is sort of set, but around the edges, we're looking for creative ways to do those little things that make a difference in people's lives. So slowly but surely, we've worked on a bunch of different park projects over the last few years. We have a big master plan for bicycle and pedestrian that we're working through. Every year, we go after grant money to take every dollar we have and try to double it and stretch every penny as far as it can go. So those things are all already in the works, but we would love to hear prioritization. We can't do everything we want to do all at once, but what should we do first? Obviously, First Street was a big hit to get that done. I'm sorry, Third Street. Did I say First Street? Third Street. And so we're looking at the next ones on the list there as well. And then I talked earlier about beach accesses have some opportunities for sprucing them up just a little bit. We like their rustic nature, but we also want them to be safe and clean and put our best foot forward and not get too overgrown and things like that. And I know that the public works staff has done a bunch of great work over the winter, taking out the sand where it blows around and all that sort of thing. So let me just open it up to the public. I know that there are some folks who made special effort to get out here, and you probably have some things on your mind. Who would like to go first? Anybody want to jump in? I think you're on the spot because you moved first. Yeah,
You
well,
can stay-
you
yeah.
can stand up there. I think. Would you rather they went up there for the mic?
If we could have just the mic, so it's.
Yeah, just the
recorded.
mic so that people.
People at home can.
A lot of folks do watch online, surprisingly, so that'll help them. It's not as
No.
formal. No time limit.
Okay, so my name's Katie Morgan. I am at 101 Maddox Crossing. I'm actually in Collington, but I'm from here originally. I own with my boyfriend a tree service company, and one of my biggest things that has been just bothering me is watching. I know we have the live oak programs and everything, but just watching everything getting clear cut right now. Yes, it is my livelihood, but we do not clear cut. We won't. We're ISA certified. We have our insurance. We have workman's comp. We carry everything. I love what y'all are doing with the Live Oak program. I think that's great, but I do love what Nags Head is doing. They make it so you have to have a permit as a business. I have to pay the town of Nags Head to be able to do work in their town, which I think as a business owner is awesome because it shows the initiative that I have to show them that I do actually have everything properly done, that I paid them, that I'm trying to be up front where like in the spring, like people just pop up everywhere. There's tree companies all the time, like, whoever. And I promise you, they're not doing it as they're supposed to be. So I think, if the town of Kildable Hills could do that, where like you do have to pay, we have to pay, I think it's like $75. And we get our little plaque that says we're allowed to work in the town of Nags Head. And that would just like get off some of the, not so upstanding businesses. Okay. And that's what they're doing. And then from there, they have somebody that does drive around. And let me tell you, I promise you, I would do that for free and find those people that haven't. I mean, we get harassed all the time when we're in the town of Nags Head. Like, where's your permit? Where's your permit? Where's your permit? They have an ISA certified arborist on their, like, they have a board. Her name is Kate Jones, I believe. I'm about to become certified. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I could help you guys out. Like they're starting to really get it going on. Like you have to go through Kate. She goes to every house before we're allowed to touch a live oak, and she approves it or denies it. You're not allowed to top a live oak because as a tree company, what we're getting a lot of is people call and say, we want to top it so that we can see the view. And they don't even live here. They just want the view to be able to say that their rental has a view. And that just kills me because that is not good for the tree. I mean, at the end of the day, it might not kill it immediately, but it's going to kill it. It's the Maritime Forest. I mean, we're the only place in the world that has this. And I'm watching it. Like I said, I've grown up here my whole life, and I'm watching it like at a crazy rapid rate get ripped up, like crazy. And once again, we own a tree company, but we do a 1-for-1 program where y'all giving out the live oaks. We actually gave out over 420 free dogwood trees and pin oaks this year throughout different towns, throughout different schools. And we do that. I keep the ticker up to date on our website. It's, every week, if you look, we're keeping a track of how many trees we cut down, and we are taking that money that could be going to our family, and I am putting it back into the community because I am so passionate about this. And I mean, I am willing to help on a board. I am willing to help get the permitting going. I'm willing to talk to town of Nags Head and figure out how they made that work. But I just feel like, I love it here. And I just think that everybody kind of just needs to like put a pedal, just break it a little bit. Like we don't have to stop building, but like, maybe like regulate what's getting ripped out a little bit, just a tiny bit. And it's coming from a tree company. Like this is my money, but like I would much rather do it in a ethical way and keep the, everything going. And I am willing, and I've talked with Ernst, he's, my boyfriend, who we both own at OBX Tree Dock, and we would do that for free. And we have spoke about it. We would even go as far as educating your groundsmen on how to properly cut a live oak, because you don't just cut it like in the middle of a, branch. You're supposed to go to a branch collar, and there's like all these just different things. And we are willing to do it. And I just want to go on record that we would do it pro bono. We would have a class, we would teach everybody. And I just want everybody to know that we are willing to do this. And like, I would love for y'all to take us up on this. And I would love to get on some kind of board. I know I'm in Collington. I'm in like no man's land. I can't really join anything, but if I can join a board for Kill Devil Hills to help this, like I said, May 16th, I'm taking my test. I will be ISA certified. So, I mean, I can help a lot, and I would do it just because I love this community so much. Like, I don't want even any money. I just want to have a legacy knowing that I helped, start that a little bit. So, but everything you're doing, Sue Kelly, with the oaks is great. But I just think that, there needs to be like some more like strict laws, because that's a lot of people. Like, we just want to top it. We just want to top it. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say. So thank you.
Thank
And
you.
if you want to
Thank
talk to me
you.
later, I'll give you all my info.
Ms. Morgan, my thoughts, because Sue, you did allude to this earlier during committee reports, is we could invite you to one of our CAC meetings. We could make it an agenda item to kind of study what NAG's Head has done. And as the CAC digest it some, look at it and make recommendations to the board in due time to kind of address it. This kind of falls under the purview of the Community Appearance Commission. I think it's something we could.
I would love
I mean,
that.
you don't have to be a resident you have to be a resident to be on the committee, but if they're public meetings, you can attend, and we would love to get your input. So
Okay,
that's a
that'd be
good
great.
place to start.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, I think I might have mentioned in the previous meeting, I think that it's always good to kind of see what the other towns are doing. We've heard about NAG's Head recently, but I know Duck has some rules about what you can cut and when and where. And I think they have pretty stringent rules about outside of the building envelope. I think you can cut less or something like that. So it's worth studying what they've done and seeing what we could borrow or improve upon or incorporate into our. Right. Yeah, it's hard to see a lot just get leveled to the ground.
And as Katie was talking, it kind of reminded me, we used to have some workshops like making compost, and I think we did like a bat box one. Would it be, could we do something on, trimming, just trimming your live oaks in a sustainable way that encourages them, like open for the public? Because that would be, I feel like that would be really cool. I mean, Ernst has taught me how to do it, but I think it's really helpful, because if you're going to trim your own trees, which we do a lot, it's helpful to know where to, and it works. I mean, it really does help them grow in a beautiful way. So maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of
Just a
people
thought.
don't know.
Right.
And meetings are great, but also little short videos for social media where people
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
little
That's a great
tidbits
idea.
as they're scrolling.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
About where to cut or whatever, because a lot of
Yeah.
people do their own stuff and they
Yeah.
don't know what they're doing. So
Okay.
I think a lot of people like to learn. So it's always aim to take an expert's advice when it comes to sharing the tricks of the trade, as it were.
Could be very beneficial.
Super. Who's our next person that wants to get up and talk in front of the crowd here? Please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Mitzdeifer. I'm at 914 Console Lane here in Kill Devil Hills, and the comment about the trees really hit me home. This is not what I'm about to talk about, but my cul-de-sac that's off 4th Street just got decimated in the last couple of years because there are a few undeveloped lots that are now developed. But so this is my first time at a town hall meeting. I've lived here for 7 years, but I definitely want to get involved now. And I wrote this down because I have a lot on my mind, and I just want to, get it all out in the way that I want to frame it. So to quote the minutes from January 25th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting, I quote, Mayor Sproul suggested continued focus on recreational facilities, pedestrian opportunities, and community beautification. end quote. I want to focus on the pedestrian opportunities aspect for this comment. A friend of mine was hit and killed trying to cross the bypass on a bike about 6 months ago. This was a stark reminder of how dangerous the car first infrastructure is in our town, both for tourists and locals alike. As a 30-year-old who hopes to soon raise a family in Killable Hills, seeing the increased traffic, development, etc., without proportional growth in pedestrian and cyclist infrastructure and safety makes me worried. Admittedly, as you mentioned before, the sidewalk addition to West 3rd Street was a really great start, but more needs to be done. Numerous studies and real-world examples have shown citizens' quality of life improvements that come with increasing focus on walk and bike-friendly communities. So I know you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I'm asking specifically, what is the town's plan in regards to increasing pedestrian opportunities and safety as we face rising population, development, and growth?
It's a great question. He sent this as an email earlier, so no, we've been thinking about it, and I was hoping to have time to talk with Meredith because I know she did a really great report on it, like maybe a year ago. Is that right? Where we kind of took a nice look back at the history of bike and pedestrian infrastructure development over the last 10 years, and there are a bunch of great statistics in it. It's probably on the website, isn't it? Or at least we can get you a copy of it anyway.
Yes, it'd be part of that.
But it's really well done, and you could see that it's an incremental process, but every year we are putting in, what ends up to be miles and miles and miles of sidewalks. And I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 65-ish miles of roads in our little 6-mile town. And of course, most of them don't have sidewalks, but if you go back 10 or 20 years, almost none of them had any. So we're always talking on this board about where is the next spot. I think it took 3 or 4 years to do down Bay Drive, which, it gets used more than I think anybody could even have imagined. You take the use that was already there, and then it really compounds once you have that infrastructure built in there. We also, I know when I had a business on the bypass years ago, and back then the sidewalks were kind of hopscotch and there were paths in the dirt. And over a number of years, we were able to finally fill in all the gaps other than Wright Brothers, which is actually getting done this year, thanks to grant money from the Visitors Bureau, and as well as we allocated some money, took some money out of our rainy day fund, as it were, to make sure we get that done this spring instead of next fall. So we accelerated it as well. So I don't have it all on the top of my head. We do have some big planning documents where we look at the 5 and 10 year plans of what needs to be improved. We've got a group that goes around every couple of years, every 3 years. That's your committee, right? No, it's BJ's committee. He would give you all the chapter and verse on it because he's involved in it. But we look at every single road and look at which ones are falling into disrepair and systematically work at them in the neighborhood of $1 million a year. Am I getting that right? And then we also look at the pedestrian side of it as well. So that's a committee that I think you should probably put your hat in the ring to be on. It's really fascinating to ride around and look at every foot of pavement over the course of a few days and really be able to mark down, all right, what's going on in all these different spots. It's really hard to just do it off the top of your head. So we put the homework in on it, I like to think. So once everything's scored, then we kind of put it in and reorder which way it goes. I remember
Graded,
the street I had was on the low end of the thing, and I thought, it's coming up soon. But other roads went downhill quicker, so they get line front. But eventually we get to all of them. And every year, our engineer will tell you, we're always making progress towards making the list down to 0. You kind of never catch up. But I think we're really proud of the legacy we have of not borrowing to do these things. A lot of other municipalities have bonds and they pay a bunch of interest on this. We do it in big chunks. About 20 years ago, boards way before our time had the vision to set aside that chunk of the budget so that we can make progress on it, not just Band-Aid everything when it's really falling apart, but improve things and add infrastructure. And we also do drainage as well. So we're trying to balance all those things because flooding is probably, it's an apple and an orange, but you really got to take care of flooding if you're going to have bike and pedestrian stuff work. And as we add more things, a lot of these pipes have to be upgraded and bigger pipes in the ground. So I think years ago, we didn't even have that all written down. So we ended up allocating money to build a whole computer system that logs where all the pipes are, how much volume they carry, and which ones being upgraded would have the best benefit. So there's like a short layperson's version of what goes on, but there are a bunch of engineers behind it as well. But we always need public input. So I hope you'll join us with that.
Yeah,
I
thank
hope
you.
that answers the question a little bit. I
It
don't have
does.
specific answers about what's on the budget. Do you guys have it on the top of your head? What's
Yeah. The side, we have a sidewalk budget that's at least $100,000 a year. We've spent considerably more than that per year. And as part of the street improvement plan, working with the Public Services Department and working with we have a adopted pedestrian plan. We incorporate sidewalks. We have started incorporating sidewalks into almost all of our street improvements. East Martin Street wasn't actually slated for a sidewalk, but we were improving it. We put a sidewalk at East Martin Street. The Wright Brothers is as a grant that's being done by the Tourism Board, and also the Forever Outer Banks is contributing money to that. That'll complete the sidewalk system on the west side of the bypass. As far as crossings for pedestrians, we have a lot of pedestrian crossings on NC 12. Cameron spearheaded getting the motion sensor lights put on all of pedestrian crossings on NC 12 so that when you walk into it, the LED light gets brighter, so it attracts cars can see you better. And it's a dull light all the time that lights a crosswalk, but when you walk into it, the LED fully comes on. So we've worked through that. We're doing some more LED crosswalk lighting back here on the big Wright Brothers path that goes here that crosses over Veterans and some of our other major intersections and through the school crossings. We did 3rd Street, which was part of the sidewalk project, which was much more than $100,000. And every year when the street subcommittee meets or when we're doing a street improvement, we look to put in sidewalk systems. As far as crossings over 158, where the unfortunate, horrible accident happened, they are controlled by DOT. So we can request pedestrian crossings. We can request pedestrian lights, and we do. We've gotten a lot of them. We have at Collington. Did we get it at Helga? We have a pedestrian push button, that stops traffic so that you can cross. Midsection crossings, they won't do. But, if you have a suggestion there's a lot of people, we see a lot of people crossing the bypass here. The board can then make a request to DOT to try to get a pedestrian crossing put in to alert drivers that people are crossing the road at this intersection. Things like that is what we strive for. But as far as putting in pedestrian facilities, it's an ongoing, and we've made a lot of progress, not only with just putting in sidewalks for pedestrians, but also creating lighting so that people are visible and to prevent accidents, hopefully. So that's the goal of pedestrian plan, and we've been working through it for about 12 years now.
That's great. One final question. Has it ever been considered to install, I guess if you're working with the county, it might get a little more complicated, but like a full-on crossover of 158?
We've looked into that, and because of the ADA requirements, it is prohibitive because the switchbacks would be on private property. We've actually had some studies done for Ocean Boulevard, and it would have, because of the switchbacks, it would have been well into like Dairy Queen and Circle K. There was, because you have to make them ADA compliant.
Yeah.
You can't just make them stairs, up and over.
And those sites are kind of maxed out, so they don't have land to give up.
So it has been looked at and has not been found feasible yet. Technology changes, so we'll keep asking.
All right. Thank you.
Rob, I was going to say just one quick thing, just to reiterate what Ben said. There is an application on the website, so I would highly recommend you fill that out to be appointed to a board if you are interested in just being a young person that's going to have a family. Like, that's how a lot of us are doing what we're doing right now, is we have kids and we want to do better, so for the place that we live in. So I would highly recommend doing that and
Thank you.
Just a thought.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Yes,
Thanks.
thank you. We're all on the team. And it's interesting that the first speaker said, please regulate me. It's not, you don't often hear that in government. Please give me more regulations. So yeah, no one ever says, hey, please tax me more because I'd like to buy some more sidewalks. But if everyone came and said that, I'd be on board. You know, I'm not suggesting it. Just saying. That's the other way you get that done. But yeah, also looking for grants and things like that. You know, it's a constant search for groups and things out there, and there's so many, it's hard to keep up with it. But we're always sending emails to each other like, did you see this one? Does this apply? Do we qualify? Because it gets pretty technical. But luckily we got staff that's really great at it, and they can read through the legalese and figure out, oh yeah, we qualify, or no, we should waste our time with this one. But we go after all that money, whether it comes from the state or the federal government or private organizations like Outer Banks Forever, which again, thank you to them for kicking in for that last sidewalk. So just getting underway. Super. Glad to hear from you. All right. Who's next? Aha. Howdy.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Luke Bear. I at 725 Canal and reside at 1700 Bay Drive. My family's been there at that corner of Canal and Bay for nearly 50 years. And I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. The pedestrian path on Bay Drive it's out of this world. It's phenomenal. I applaud all the efforts to put that in. Thank you very much. The traffic in front of our house is not what I would have ever expected it would ever be, but it's clearly getting a lot of use, and it's absolutely a wonderful asset to the community. I've noticed, I don't have any actual data on this, but I've noticed that the roads around Third Canal, they've all just gotten a little tighter as you add those pedestrian paths there. And in particular at the corner of where Bay kind of comes into Canal, it's a pretty hot turn as it might be, as people are making that, as they're using that road to come around and, cut out from 3rd Street over to 1st Street. It's really easy to make that turn really fast. And I'm not going to lie, it's pretty fun to do it too. But I can see, as we talk about pedestrian safety, I can see some challenges as the roads have tightened up a little bit and we got big vehicles on the roads. I can see as the speed limit, people are pushing that boundary of 25 up to 30 oftentimes. It's just a matter of time before someone ends up an impact on the road, come over into a pedestrian path. That would be, absolutely terrible. Someone's actually using the pedestrian path. A vehicle ends up on the pedestrian path. That could be really bad. I mean, it's worst case scenario. 2 nights ago, our mailbox was clipped by someone making that turn at night. I don't know how many mailboxes we've put up there with people that are making that turn at night, maybe under the influence a little bit. I know of cars that have ended up in my lot on Canal because they make that turn too fast. If that happened during the daytime, that could easily be a mom and walking the dog, or a child there. I had heard something about possibly lowering the town residential speed limits, and that it didn't maybe go through. I just wanted to bring that up as maybe a possible suggestion for pedestrian safety, just generally speaking in the residential neighborhoods. Just from what I've seen and the difference from how it was, 30 years ago to now, it seems like we've got the kind of volume that Manio has a town speed limit of 20 miles an hour in the downtown district area there. And I definitely have been a culprit of not realizing that, and then going 25 and then getting busted. And then I realized, and then now I go slower in Manio because of that. And I think that it would be, I can remember my father yelling at people to slow down in our neighborhood as a kid. And I definitely think that it could be encouraged for all of that residential area. I've also noticed a ton of golf carts now, and those things are souped up and rolling, and they look like they're fun, but at what point are they regulated as far as driving on those town roads and things like that? I don't know. And so I just those are just the things that I've noticed. So I definitely applaud anybody getting involved and trying to figure out what makes those places safe pedestrian thoroughfares for everyone to enjoy. And because I really do think it is one of the people find it and they tell me about it and it's really truly, as you talk about, a recreational benefit for our town. It's truly is one of those benefits. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it is doing that thing that you imagine that it would do, and then here it is, and you could see that people are using it more than using bikes and walking more than they would have, and that has so many benefits, so many knock-on benefits. One, it's taking cars off the road. Two, when there's people walking around, you just do drive slower because it feels like you should. It's not about the speed limit. It's about, it doesn't feel right to go too fast when there are people right next to you. And yeah, property values, quality of life, everyone's health. It's just a win-win all the way around. Yeah, I feel you on those certain curves. Since we're just educating as we go, previous meetings we did talk at great length about 2025 and the relative merit, benefits, unexpected downsides. And for the time being, nothing's ever permanent, but we decided to forego changing it everywhere and try to go after the few people that are the bad eggs in the scenario. So we've allocated a little bit extra money in the budget to buy more solar powered, completely remote operated, internet enabled speed signs that tell you your speed and blink red and blue if you go too fast, to try to change behavior. And they're mobile, they can move around, they upload to the internet, give us a ton of data, which allows the police to better allocate resources and find out, that who is it? Oh, they go by at 4:45 every day. Oh, I know where I need to go park now. So great data comes out of those, and also has that social. It reminds you, like you said, even you went too fast and then found out. So this is our way to try to go after that worry, that challenge of it does boil your blood to see somebody driving too fast in the neighborhood, and especially everybody who's had kids over the years, and see kids out there. You want to make sure everybody's safe. And so we're with you on that one. What else did he cover? Let's see. So, golf carts. Yeah, we talked a great deal about golf carts, and we looked at the ordinances and things they did in other parts of the state and in other towns. Generally, we do not allow them. We looked at what are the benefits of possibly doing that, and the downsides for us, for now, seemed like, there's not enough upside. So generally speaking, if you see them and they're not street legal, that please call dispatch. We want to get unsafe vehicles out of the picture, because like you said, folks come on vacation, they don't know or maybe don't care about the rules, but we do have rules you can't have. And at the same time, there are street legal versions of these things, and it's hard to, if you don't know, if you just look at them to know what's
that
legal
are state
and what's not.
registered.
Yeah, some of it, if they have a license plate and turn
Right. So
signals.
if they have it to regular tag. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. PSA.
Yeah.
On that. We're always looking for
Well,
content for
education.
PSA. Yep, that's a good idea. Because they are allowed in some parts of the county, but not many, and never on 12, and yet you see them there once in a while. So yeah, so I know that our guys have a challenge, but they'll always pull them over when they see them. Check it out. So if you see somebody, see something, say something. We want to keep everybody safe, not see 12-year-olds driving illegal vehicles down the road. Save them from themselves. Did I cover everything? What else? Anything else you guys want to weigh in on those topics? Otherwise, we'll move on.
Is there a way to request a location for one of those speed data points?
You just call my department, and we haven't gotten the ones he's talking about yet. That's coming up in our next budget, hopefully. And we have a couple that we've used now, but try to keep them in all different places. We'll put you on a list that we got, and we'll get it as soon as we can through it. But just come off sometime, and we'll set it up for you.
Quick question, I'll write it. What does about more stop signs in places? Like I know on my street, there's no stop sign going between the bypass and Day Drive, and people haul. There's a stop sign going down Lee, it's funny, there's stop signs on my street, they go, there's no stop signs going east to west. Go one street over, there's stop signs going east to west, but there's not going this. It's like, is there any research done about these neighborhoods where maybe having four-way stops, so people have to slow down at least between the two roads?
We have talked about this a bunch of times too. If anybody wants to jump in, please do. If I recall this correctly, what we heard from engineers was there's a ton of data on these things, and but generally, and there's big, professional associations that make recommendations that you start off with those guidelines, and then if you want to do something, you would get a study and all this kind of stuff to do it. But generally, they say top line, don't use stop signs to regulate speed. It does not work. It causes more problems than it solves. That's just the data saying that. That said, it happens all the time. People make suggestions and we look into it, and every intersection's been thought about multiple times by many people. And that's not to say that they're perfect and the patterns change and all that sort of thing. But
This has been going on. I've been in my house for 18 years. I'd argue 18 years ago, maybe that made sense. But now,
right,
people do speed right past me. I don't know where you are in the neighborhood. People slow down. You know, flying right around me, whether I've got a kid next to me or a dog on either side. They play like they'll shoot the pier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and all of it, they can keep going. It seems to be at least consistent. One street to the next to the next. You don't stop going this way, or you don't stop going this way.
Right.
There's a way to look into it. And I'm not saying just that much, but there's a way to look at it maybe more cohesive, the same way the speed limit should be cohesive everywhere the stop signs work.
Yep.
Intuitively.
Yeah, I don't remember all the details. I know some people have better memories about these than I know. That's places where they went in, and they maybe lasted a few months, and everybody said, whoa, this is worse. And then they took them back out. So yeah, whenever we do it, we think hard about it to make sure it's the right.
Well, and I know
definitely bring them up.
our engineer has said four-way stops are, and I know I've heard Meredith say this before
They
too.
cause
They actually cause more accidents than they prevent. So then
It's very rare cases
or
where
I
they
don't know if
do
I'm
that.
saying that right, but
Yeah, the board
generally.
adopted the manual for uniform traffic control, which is a nationwide manual for the best way to put in traffic control devices, the safest way, when they're necessary, when they're actually can be harmful. And four-way stops we have very few streets that qualify for a four-way stop. It has to be two collector streets that have a certain amount of traffic, that you do traffic counts per day that come in all four directions to warrant a four-way stop.
I'm not going to say four-way. I'm just wondering why. Like I saw this yesterday.
Oh.
Walking, somebody's going this way. They
Yeah.
had to stop. They didn't have to stop. Then they get to my street. They have to stop. The person going this way didn't have to stop. Like there's just not even anything consistent. You have the street over.
That's not me.
No, that's what I'm trying to figure out. And I'm pretty sure I'd have to go to Archdale and figure it out, or Hammond and figure out how it.
It's
definitely
probably-
not like you don't stop on this street. Everyone stops on this street. It's like
It could be how the streets were developed. Like they didn't go all the way through,
Yeah.
so they stopped them this way.
Because the other one
And
was
then-
new.
it's
And
probably
Then it
backed
went
out.
through,
Then connected it.
and then it punched through,
That's
and
then
they didn't.
connected it later.
Yeah,
So-
punched through our street and whatever.
Yeah, so it's probably how the street, the western side of Lee was developed when the signs were put up, and it just doesn't.
So could it be updated in light of the fact that there's now whatever bazillion houses on the west side of the league? I'm not saying just from in any place where we've added all these people, it seems like taking a look at how people are moving around.
right,
Again, you can get up to, if you want to get up to, however you want to get, however fast you want to go.
it's a straight line.
Look at Third Street, might as well be Third Street, except for it's, not Third Street. It's right here where all the houses
we can
are, just
review
way
it.
behind there. They have a stop sign though, and that got put in Acock, Eden, all those streets have just got all those houses behind them. Those all have a stop sign going east to west.
I think you bring up a good point about the development and the fact that the traffic loads are significantly different when you cut through things. And so maybe they'd be worth revisiting. So we will definitely bring that up with our town engineer and see what his thoughts are. He's a genius about these kinds of things. But thanks for bringing that
I'm
up.
not
That's
saying I could be
good.
wrong.
If you don't live these places, you drive through, you don't notice, but if you live there, you
It's
notice.
probably 'cause they just never, when they punched it through, there wasn't, that's the, it never was there before.
Yeah. Why change it? It's it's already there. Good stuff there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. They have all these sophisticated computer models too, where they could, draw it all out and say, what if you do this? What happens? It's gotten very sophisticated. modeling of traffic flows and whatnot. So yeah, we'll bring it up. Who else has a topic to get into? I know there's a few other people haven't said anything. Just here to listen. All right, that's cool. We're cool about listening. If they're not thinking of topics, how about board members? Anything popping in your head? What are you thinking about?
Real quick, we've discussed over the last couple of years a few times, kind of like engineered borders between commercial and residential zones.
Right, that's a good topic.
And we've gotten some emails concerning the neighbors of Wawa, and that's been in there amongst other things. But has there been any movement forward with this? I think there was a general support for the idea going forward. If any other large commercial structures are built next to residential, something along the lines of what Lowe's and Publix have. Any updates there, Meredith, Cameron? We move forward with that?
Cameron and I have lots of ideas on changes you can make to buffers. I don't think that we were 100% clear that you wanted those to be. We can bring some ideas forward for the board to consider to send to the planning board for if you like them.
I think that's a good way
We can bring them
forward.
to a future meeting.
I mean, I live off First Street, and it's a pretty, peaceful relationship now between Lowe's, Publix, and the neighboring houses. It really worked out well, and I think that that barrier really proved itself. And maybe we should look at using that as an example going forward for future situations like that.
No, it also can be an incentive, do incentive ideas where it becomes in their best interest, but it isn't required, but also doesn't make it a hard line, because I think you just have to think through all the possibilities where you might have a situation where you don't want a fence, and then you've required yourself to have a fence, and where it would have been nicer without a fence. Not everything's going to be a Wawa, not everything's going to be a Lowe's.
And that's what the staff is running into.
Yeah.
It sounds good when you're talking about it, but then when you get down and start looking at the unintended consequences that having something on the books, hard line. But we'll bring it back and so we all can kick it around.
Yeah,
It's been more difficult than I think we thought.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think
you
about
don't you don't want a bank to have to put up a 20-foot sound wall.
Yeah, for a quiet bank.
Right.
Exactly.
And so Cameron's
it's just a hard topic. I mean,
Yeah.
you adopt that, and every commercial business in town is now non-conforming.
Oh, that's true.
That makes
Yeah.
things difficult.
Yeah.
There's a lot of layers of this. I think we'll be able to bring you something that will work towards, I think, what your goal is. But there's a lot of commercial uses when you start looking at an office building or a bank versus a 24-hour gas station. You can't define them all, and you can't say what that buffer is between those types of uses and residential uses without creating a lot of nonconformities. So we'll definitely take that into consideration, but we'll bring something to you.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say about when you think about these things is, we're all guilty of thinking of the worst case scenario, and whatever that is what's right in front of us, whether it was Lowe's a bunch of years ago or Wawa right now. But when I think about the town, close my eyes, I think, all right, well, how many large commercial lots are left? There might be some redevelopment, but mostly we're going to take these old buildings and renovate them. But it's just a handful of big lots left that could possibly have that kind of impact. So when I think in my mind, like, well, where's the commercial zone and what does that line look like? What's there now? And some paper streets on some of them.
And I mean, the commercial zones and the light industrial zones, those zoning districts haven't changed very much over the years at all. So most people who have purchased or are in those vicinities, that was there in their due diligence, or it was, it's always been a neighboring adjacent, zoning classification there. So that makes it tough too, because if you create a larger buffer, that's also removing less area that they've had a right to develop in the past. So it's just
sort
a
of
tough topic.
takes away some value if you
And
measure.
and another thing that has come up a lot in our discussion is you do have a lot of commercial that is near residential, but it's in the commercial zone.
Yeah.
We don't have a tremendous amount of truly residential zone, commercial zone. There's one intersection on the west side, a block back from the bypass that runs the length of town, But when you look between the highways and you get
That's all
into that
commercial.
discussion,
It's all commercial.
it's commercial that has been developed residential. So what is the give and take of someone that has developed in the commercial zone entirely, and the surrounding properties are all commercial? They're simply developed residential, which was a zoning scheme that was done in the 80s by previous boards.
Yep.
You know, how do you balance that for a business that's developing? You know, you owned a business.
Yeah.
In the commercial zone.
Right. Yeah. At a nightclub that was 10 feet away from a bunch of residential townhomes.
Right, and I think that's what.
Not
you
a great
have to-
situation.
Right.
You have to try to protect that though, because that's your residential where it does abut, so you have to come up with something. But earlier discussion, I was thinking, do you inject use into determining some of the criteria for a buffer?
Yes.
Is that what you would do? Is say, well, a certain use would have to have a different buffer.
And that's already our ordinance. It's compatible uses. You have one buffer that's less restrictive.
Gotcha.
So a
Gotcha.
restaurant to a retail store, they still have to buffer each other with nice looking landscape.
Gotcha.
Is how it
Okay.
goes. But if they're buffering non-compatible use, being usually a single family dwelling, they have a much more stringent buffer.
Okay.
And that's been in effect for quite a while, and it's supposed to become basically a solid hedge or a fence with nice landscaping on the outside of the business, so that your neighbor has less effect for all those things like light and noise, and those things.
That's
that
the
usually
whole
are.
It affects those. Yeah.
But we can certainly look at how the areas like that have been the hot topic lately have been where we have a new business coming to town that's abutting an older residential low subdivision. So we'll bring you something. We'll
We
be
look
working
at
on
those particular barriers. Yeah. Those, it's like you said, it's a minimal number of places where it actually touches like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. We've talked about it a bunch, for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Not to drag this out, but
All
it's
good.
something that has always been like bothering me. I feel like this is where I should ask. It's a question y'all can answer. So once again, we own a tree company. So with the commercial, residential, everything going on, a lot of these residential places, when they pay us, they're paying us out of an LLC. It's usually the name of their house.
Yeah. Limited
And, like,
liability.
Is that not like a commercial thing? I think that's like my question is like, are they at a commercial level? Like, do they have to have ADA ramps? Do they have to have lit up signs? Do they
It's
have
just
commercial grade kitchen?
it's usually just a family, and they've just incorporated for like
Tax
legal.
purposes.
What's that?
Tax purposes.
Tax
Well, and
purposes.
for legal,
and
for
protect
legal,
yourself for legal liabilities,
for
basically.
legal protection.
Yeah, so they can't come after all your assets.
Most rental properties are probably in an LLC, I would imagine.
Yeah, if you go in the DARE,
Yeah.
if you go in the DARE tax records, you see that most everything is an LLC. That's everybody does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a pass through. It really usually just passes straight through to the owners. Yes.
I just want to make a quick comment. My name is Jamie. I'm coming from the town of Southern Shores. I just wanted to say thank you guys tonight. Each of you in your respective roles, all you do for the town of Kill Devil Hills, and not only the Dare County. I found my way here. It was very accessible to learn about tonight's meeting, down to the point that I saw it come across social media. And I just want to say thank you because I know that there's a lot of people in the community, for opening up more opportunities like this, to the point that you've reached it through publicity, I suppose. Sometimes these are hard to find or keep track of. I know everyone's websites does do a good job, but I just thank you. I found it. I look forward to learning more about also my town in Southern Shores, how to reach also a public forum, which I didn't even know existed. And I've learned a lot tonight. So
Oh,
thanks for the setting.
Thanks so much for coming. We'd like to inspire Southern Shores to be as great as Kill We'll rub that into the next mayor's meeting. No, thank you so much. That's great. Shout out to Rachel, our public information officer, does a fantastic job with all the publicity. She keeps it fun and is on top of it all the time. So does a great job.
It's funny she said that because I remember we were at this long-term tourism thing and everyone was like, they should do this more often. And we were
Like,
they do it
we
twice
do.
a year, they do it in a county twice a year, and some guys are like, they should have it. I think it was
Yeah, there was at least 10 people that were like, oh, why don't they do this more often? We're like, we do. Where are you?
So where?
I saw it on Instagram.
Instagram, right? Yeah, we're everywhere. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're scratching the bottom of the barrel for ideas to talk about. What do we have? What do we else have? Yes, Sue Kelly comes in.
I just wanted to mention, this has been a great meeting. There is an open position on the Community Appearance Commission. And for people who live in Kill Devil Hills, the administrative office has these forms that you can fill out and indicate what your interests are, so that when there is a position open on one of the town's committees or commissions, the board has a group of people that they can consider for that position. Just wanted to mention that.
Yes.
It's been such an interesting meeting.
Yes, we do have a bunch of different committees, and they're all really interesting to do. We've had on all sorts of different topics.
It's all online.
There you go. It's all online, but there's a paper one too.
There's even a QR code.
QR code. We're on
Bring you
top.
right to it.
Boom. Last thing I could think of was things we haven't done yet that we hope to get in, or at least I'm advocating for. Like to look for ways that we can inspire people. And we do that with the trees and other things that we do, but sort of projects that show better ways to reduce carbon, to reduce our power bill with photovoltaics, with wind, vehicles that can be less carbon in the vehicles that we buy and that sort of thing. So we're always looking for those opportunities, and we're kind of right at the threshold of it being sort of an even expense. So we're always looking about how we can use the taxpayers' dollars most efficiently, but also sort of lead the way on the best way to run an operation efficiently and cleanly, as cleanly as we can. So throw that out there, that's also swirling around. What other topics? Anything else that I haven't thought of? Unless anybody thinks of something in the next 30 seconds, I think we're getting ready to wrap this thing up.
But thank you guys for
Thank
coming
you
out.
so much.
Seriously,
I
like
appreciate
it's,
the input.
Yeah, great. Always new little nuggets, even though it's topics we cover a lot, but we always learn something, and hopefully you guys have learned a few things as well. And all of our phone numbers and websites and all of our email addresses are all super easily accessible online as well. So feel free to just shoot us a text or a phone call or message online, whatever way works for you. Other than that, I guess I look at my agenda. There's only one more thing to do.
Motion to adjourn.
There
I'll
it is.
second that.
There it is. Any further discussion? All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming out, you guys.
Thank y'all.
thank you.